Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavata Gita, Bhagavatam, Canto 2, The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 5, The Cause of All Causes. Narada Uvacha Deva Deva Namastestu Bhuta Bhavana Purvaja Tatvijanihi Yagnana Matma Tattvani Darshanam.
Hare Krishna. Sri Narad Muni asked Brahmaji, O chief amongst the demigods, O firstborn living entity, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Please tell me that transcendental knowledge which specifically directs one to the truth of the individual soul and the supersoul.
Yadrupam Yadhishtanam Yatasrishtha Midam Prabho Yatasamstham Yatpara Yatcha Tat Tattvam Vada Tatvataha.
My dear father, please describe factually by the symptoms of this manifest world. What is the background? How is it created? How is it consumed? And under whose control is all this being done?
Sarvam Hetad Bhavan Veda Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu Karamala Kavad Vishwam Vijnana Vasitam Tava.
My dear father, all this is known to you scientifically because whatever was created in the past, whatever will be created in the future, or whatever is being created at present, as well as everything within the universe, is within your grip, just like a walnut.
Yadvijnano Yadadharo Yatparastvam Yadatmakaha Ekasrijasi Bhutani Bhutai Ravatma Mayaya.
My dear father, what is the source of your knowledge? Under whose protection are you standing? And under whom are you working? What is your real position? Do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy?
Atman bhavayase tani न परा भावयन् स्वयं आत्मशक्ति मवष्टभ्य ऊर्णना भिरि वाक्लमः.
As the spider very easily creates the network of its web and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self sufficient energy, create without any other's help.
नाहं वेद परह्यास्मिन् नापर न समं विभो नाम रूप गुणैर्भाव्यं सदसत्किञ्चिदन्यतः.
Whatever we can understand by the nomenclature, characteristic, and features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, of equal, external, or temporary, is not created from any source other than that of your lordship, though so great.
सभा स भवान् चरद घोर यत्तपस् सुसमाहितः तेन खेदयसे नस्त्वं पराशङ्कां च यच्छसि.
Yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities in perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation.
एतन्मे पृच्छतः सर्वं सर्वज्ञ सकलेश्वर विजानीहि यथैवेद महं बुद्ध्येऽनुशासितः.
My dear Father, you know everything, and you are the controller of all. Therefore, may all that I have inquired from you be kindly instructed to me so that I may be able to understand it as your student.
ब्रह्मोवाच सम्यक् कारुणि कस्येदं वत्स वत्स ते विचिकित्सितं यदहं चोदितः सौम्य भगवद्ति भगवद्वीर्यदर्शने.
Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Narada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all this question because I have been inspired to see into the powers prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead.
नानृतं तव तच्छापि यथा मां प्रब्रविषीम्भोः अविज्ञाय परमत्त एतावत् त्वं यतो हि मे.
Whatever you have spoken about me is not false because unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate truth beyond me, one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activities.
येन स्वरोचिषा विश्वं रोचितं रोचयाम्यहम् यथा कोऽग्निर्यथा सोमो यथर्क्षग्रः तारकाः.
I create after the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence known as the Brahmajyoti, just as when the sun manifests its fire, the moon, the firmament, the influential, influential planets, and the twinkling stars are also manifest their brightness.
तस्मै नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय धीमहि यन्मायया दुर्जयया मां वदन्ति जगद्गुरुम्.
I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, whose invisible potency influences them, the less intelligent class of men, to call me the supreme controller.
विलज्जमानया यस्य स्थातुमीक्षापथे मुया विमोहिता विकथन्ते ममाहमिति दुर्धियः.
The illusory energy of the Lord cannot take precedence, being ashamed of her position. But those who are bewildered by her always talk nonsense, being absorbed in thoughts of it is I and it is mine.
द्रव्यं कर्म च कालश्च स्वभावो जीव एव च वासुदेवात् परो ब्रह्मन् च चान्योऽर्थो स्ति तत्त्वतः.
The five elementary ingredients of creation, the incarnation, interaction thereof set by up eternal uh, time, and the institution of nature of the individual living beings are all differentiate parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and in truth there is no other value in them.
नारायण परा वेदा देवा नारायणाङ्गजाः नारायण परा लोका नारायण परामखाः.
The Vedic literatures are made by and are meant for the Supreme Lord. The demigods are also meant for serving the Lord as part of his body. The different planets are also meant for the sake of the Lord, and different sacrifices are performed just to please him.
नारायण परो योगो नारायण परतपः नारायण परज्ञानं नारायण परागतिः.
All different types of meditation of mysticism are meant for realizing Narayana. All austerities are aimed at achieving Narayana. Culture of transcendental knowledge is for getting a glimpse of Narayana, and ultimately salvation is entering the kingdom of Narayana.
तस्यापि द्रष्टु ऋषस्य कूटस्थस्याखिलात्मनः सृज्यं सृजामि सृष्टोः मीक्षयैवाभिचोदितः.
Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayana, under his vision as the all-pervading super soul, and I also am created by him only.
सत्वं रजस्तम इति निर्गुणस्य गुणास्त्रयः स्थिति सर्ग निरोधेषु गृहीता मायया विभोः.
The Supreme Lord is pure spiritual form, transcendental to all material qualities. Yet, for the sake of the creation of the material world and its maintenance and inhalation, he accepts, though his external energy, the material modes of nature called goodness, passion, and ignorance.
कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे द्रव्यज्ञानक्रियाश्रयाः वध्नन्ति नित्यदा मुक्तं मायिनं पुरुषं गुणाः.
These three modes of material nature being further manifested as matter, knowledge, and activities, put the eternally transcendental living entity under conditions of cause and effect and make him responsible for such activities.
स एष भगवालिङ्गै स्त्रीभिरतैरधोक्षजाः स्वलक्षित गतिर्ब्रह्मन् सर्वेषां मम चेश्वरः.
O Brahman, Narad, the superior, the transcendent Lord is beyond the perception of the material senses of the living entities because of the above mentioned three modes of nature, but he is the control of everyone, including me. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Jai Shri Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, I'm just going to call Prabhuji.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. Jyoti Mataji, Prabhuji is there.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Shabani Mataji. How are you?
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So nice to see everybody. Thank you, Jyoti Mataji, for getting it started and for the recitation. Nice to see Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu, Prema Vilasini Mataji, Chetna Mataji, Dilip Bhai. Who else is there? Indulekha Mataji, all the way from Toronto. Hare Krishna. We have Janu Kanya Mataji, Koshi Mataji. We have Krishnavani Mataji. Who else? Neela Vasana Madhavi Mataji. Hare Krishna. Krishnavani Mataji, Orpita Mataji, Pooja Mataji, Saroj Mataji, Shabani Mataji, and Girish Prabhu, Shailesh Prabhu, and Kirti Mataji, Usha Mataji, and Yashwini Mataji. Jai. So nice to see all of you once again after a while. Hare Krishna. Hope everyone is keeping well.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
I
Krishna.
am from Victoria, not Toronto. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Jyoti Mataji, can you stop sharing the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji, sorry.
Thank you. So I'll just share my screen. Bear with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. So we are on the chapter 5, the cause of all causes, and we are in the first section, and today we'll be covering text 4 to 6. What we will do is we'll quickly recite the translations from the previous verses so that we can have a quick recap. So starting from the cause of all causes, that's the chapter name, second canto. And here first text is Sri Narad Muni asked Brahmaji, O chief amongst the demigods, O firstborn living entity, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Please tell me the transcendental knowledge which specifically directs one to the truth of individual soul and super soul. My dear father, please describe factually the symptoms of this manifest world. What is its background? How is it created? How is it conserved? And under whose control is all this being done? My dear father, all this is known to you scientifically because whatever was created in the past, whatever will be created in the future, or whatever is being created at present, as well as everything within the universe is within your grip, just like a walnut. So now we are covering text 5 to 6. Can you see the Sanskrit here of text 5?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Atman bhavaya setani na parabhavam swayam atmasaktim avastabhya urna bhir ivaklama. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The best example of self-sufficiency. Oh, 1 second. I'm just trying to check. Want to make sure that I've got the right text I'm covering. Bear with me. So we were supposed to cover 4 to 6. Sorry. So I should have read the fourth Sanskrit as well. We'll go back and read the purport and then come back to the fifth one. Bear with me. Chapter 5, text 4. Yat Vijnano Yat Adharo Yat Parastam Yat Atmaka Ekasrijas Bhutani Bhuter Evatma Mayaya. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. My dear Father, what is the source of your knowledge? Under whose protection are you standing? And under whom are you working? What is your real position? Do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy? Purport. It was known to Sri Narad Muni that Lord Brahma attained creative energy by undergoing severe austerities. As such, he could understand that there was someone else superior to Brahmaji who invested Brahma with the power of creation. Therefore, he asked all the above questions. Discoveries of progressive scientific achievements are therefore not independent. The scientist has to attain the knowledge of a thing already existing by means of the wonderful brain made by someone else. A scientist can work with the help of such an awarded brain, but it is not possible for the scientist to create his own or a similar brain. Therefore, no one is independent in the matter of any creation, nor is such a creation automatic. So, and that's the first text and purport. Let's just go read all of them, and then we will summarize. Text 5. We've read the Sanskrit and translation. I was reading the purport. I'll read the translation again. As the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. Purport. The best example of self-sufficiency is the sun, and the sun does not require to be illuminated by any other body. Rather, it is the sun which helps all other illuminating agents. For in the presence of the sun, no other illuminating agent becomes prominent. Narada compared the position of Brahma to the self-sufficiency of the spider, who creates its own field of activities without any other's help by employment of its own energetic creation of saliva. Text 6. Naham veda param hi asmin, na param na samam vibho, nama rupa gunir bhavyam, sat asat kinchit anyata. Translation and purport. Whatever we can understand by the nomenclature, characteristics, and the features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal, eternal or temporary, is not created from any source other than that of your lordship, though so great. Purport. The manifested world is full of varieties of created beings in 8,400,000 species of life, and some of them are superior and inferior to others. In human society, the human being is considered to be the superior living being, and amongst the human beings, there are also different varieties, good, bad, equal, etc. But Narad Muni took for granted that none of them has any source of generation besides his father Brahmaji. Therefore, he wanted to know all about them from Lord Brahma. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauramani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhube Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here, in this particular chapter, we are now in the section where Narad Muni is having a conversation with his father, Lord Brahma, and he has these series of questions. Like in this particular text, let's see how many questions. What is the source of your knowledge is the first question he's asking Brahmaji. Then he's asking, under whose protection are you standing? So he's asking source of knowledge, source of protection, and under whom are you working? Who's like kind of controlling you? That's who's your controller, and what is your real position? Number 4, do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy? So these are the 5 questions Narad Muni is putting in front of Brahmaji. And what is very interesting in these few verses here, you will notice that, okay, now Naraji is asking all these questions, but in the next 2 verses, or rather actually all the way to the text 7, you will notice Naraji is kind of enforcing the point as if he already knows that Brahmaji is the ultimate creator and he's trying to do it. And it's very interesting. And our acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and other acharyas have actually commented about it, that the reason Narad Muni in the following verses kind of gives so much of respect to Brahmaji, almost at the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, making him kind of, at least from his perspective, he's trying to tell his father, you are the creator, you've been doing all of this. And it's quite interesting. If you think for a moment, if somebody is trying to glorify you in that way, naturally one becomes very, very puffed up, and because, at least I can speak for myself, my false ego is so strong that I actually start to believe whatever is being said about my in my glory, and I think, wow, I'm really that person. Whereas you will notice in the subsequent verses, as the chapter carries on, there is a very nice point here. You will notice that Brahmaji's humility comes at forefront, and he immediately, confronts Narada and says that you better stop, in the sense nicely, and he explains that how I'm not the ultimate creator. Even I have a creator. Even I have an object of worship. Even I have an object of meditation. Even I have an object of shelter, who I take shelter. And then he explains that how, all the knowledge was revealed to him. Even the sense of carrying out the austerity or tapasya was ultimately given to Brahmaji from within the heart by Krishna. And after doing that penance for so long, Brahmaji was then able to have the darshan of the Lord, you see. So that's something interesting to note, that here, Narad Muni is glorifying Brahma in that way, and Brahma being humble, he explains his position very nicely in the remaining verses. So going back to the text 4, where these questions are being asked, so here in the purport, Prabhupada says, it is known that that Lord Brahma attained creative energy by undergoing severe austerity. So Narad Muni was aware of that. And as such, he could understand that there was someone else superior to Brahmaji who invested Brahma with the power of creation. Therefore, he asked all the above questions. Discovery of progressive scientific achievements are therefore not independent. So here Prabhupada is saying the scientist has to attain knowledge of things already existing by the means of world brain made by someone else. Recently, I was hearing a lecture by Srila Prabhupada, and in that lecture, Srila Prabhupada was quoting that His Holiness Sarup Damodar Maharaj, one of his disciples who's no longer there on the earthly planet, was an amazing scientist actually. So he was attending a conference of the various scientists, and in that conference, one scientist was claiming that the life actually comes from the matter, and these are the various chemicals how the life comes about. So Sarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj, he challenged that scientist in front of all the other scientists and said, if I'm able to bring all the chemicals which you have mentioned, will you be able to create the life? And immediately his answer was that I cannot do. And Srila Prabhupada was, in a very nice, proud way of his disciple, he was speaking that Sarup Damodar Maharaj was able to, in a way, in a debate, defeat this scientist, that although he's speaking a theory, but he can't, there's no realization because there's no practicality to it. He cannot bring, life from the chemicals. And a scientist can work with the help of such an awarded brain, but it is not possible for the scientist to create his own or smaller brain. So the example I shared is very relevant in this context, that he, although you could see here that he was able to um, uh, speak up that the life comes from the matter, but he could not create the life when asked by Sarup Damodar. So similarly here, these some of the questions, and Prabhupada is saying, therefore no one is independent in the matter of any creation. I'm sure all of you have heard another example Srila Prabhupada gives in this matter related to this is like, if there is a watch, then it is very obvious that there must be a watchmaker behind it, someone who has made the watch. So similarly, if there is a creation, it naturally means that there is a creator behind it. So like another lecture I was hearing, Prabhupada was saying that, okay, you can reach out to your source. As a son, you have a father had his father. But ultimately, as you keep going back and back, the ultimate creator is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And we know from Lord Brahma's prayers in the 10th canto, where it is clearly mentioned that how, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapassam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati. In the 5th chapter, 29th verse of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives this peace formula that knowing Bhoktaram, that I am the benefactor of all the sacrifices, Yagna, of all the sacrifices, Yagna Tapassam, I am the one who should be, for whom the austerity should be performed. Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. I am the Mahesh of all the lokas, of all the planets. Ultimately, I am the, creator. Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. I'm also situated in everyone's heart. I'm in the form of the super soul. I'm the well-wishing friend of everyone. Suhridam. And then Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachili. Anyone who understands this fact will attain the peace. So it is a very beautiful verse if you take a moment and think about it. And oftentimes, a lot of the frustration comes in our life when we think that we are the doers, right? We know in another chapter, 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, what is that verse? About the modes of material nature. Prakite kriya manani guna karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. That the living entity under the influence of the modes of material nature thinks himself to be the doer. And that itself becomes the cause of the frustration. So, but the moment we decide that actually I have a father, a supreme father, he's Krishna, aham bija pata, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, he's the seed-giving father. And if I take shelter of such a father, then I'm completely, can be at peace because I know nothing is in my hand. So I can then look to work in that relationship. But these things require faith, require Shraddha to understand these, intricacies of Srimad Bhagavatam, to understand the questions Narad Muni is proposing to Lord Brahma. It requires a lot of comprehension. It requires a lot of reading of Srila Prabhupada books. And then you will come to understand that, wow, this is all making sense. Now Brahma will speak about how he came into the existence, how there are so many Brahmas, there are so many different universes. We saw in the Brahma Vimohan Leela. So like this, it slowly our faith can develop. But if our faith is not there, then unfortunately it can take us many lifetimes to understand, Krishna consciousness. That's why Prabhupada said, it is very simple for those who are simple, but it is very difficult for those who are crooked. And in one of the lectures I was hearing yesterday, as I was traveling for my work in the evening, Prabhupada was giving this beautiful story of someone who has faith in the process. The success is assured actually. And Prabhupada gave this beautiful story. He was speaking. He said, I'm sure you have heard the story already, but I'll repeat it. He said that, Narad Muni was visiting the earthly planet. And then he noticed that there is a cobbler and then there is a brahmana, and they were both carrying on with their services in their own way, and they both wanted to find out, how long will it take for them to go back to spiritual world. And Narad Muni said, I'm going to Vaikuntha, I'll find out and I'll come back. And when Narad Muni appeared in Vaikuntha, um, Lord Vishnu told him that when you go back down, just tell them that, if they ask you what the Lord was doing, tell them that the Lord was threading the elephant through a needle hole. And Narad Muni, accepting the instruction as his heart and soul came down, went to the Brahmana, and then he told, Lord Vishnu had told him it will take him quite a few lifetimes. So the Brahmana asked, and Narad Muni immediately said, well, actually, it's going to take you some lifetimes. So Brahmana said, oh, okay, well, all right, it is what it is. And then he said, what was the Lord doing? And Narad Muni explained that the Lord was threading elephant through the hole of the, needle. And the Brahmana said, how is that possible? That's just not possible. So Narad Muni could understand, how much faith the cobbler had. The Brahmana had. Then he went to the cobbler and he said exactly the same thing to the cobbler. And the cobbler started to cry. He had tears in his eyes. And the cobbler said, wow, this is so nice. My Lord is so wonderful. And Narad Muni said, do you really believe that he was doing it? He said, why not? He said, you look at this beautiful tree or big tree, banyan tree under which I'm sitting, and you see these various seeds of the banyan tree. Every seed of banyan tree has the same potency for it to grow like a big banyan tree. So if the Lord can make this tiny seed to grow into such a big banyan tree, then he can surely thread the elephant through the hole of the needle. And that is a beautiful um, beautiful understanding or beautiful illustration of how important Shraddha or the faith is in the process of Krishna consciousness. And although, Prabhupada gives these beautiful, simple examples, but they are really full of, instructions which can solidify our Krishna consciousness, actually. And hence, the necessity of having the Shraddha and the faith in this process, in the pastimes of the Lord, in our Acharyas, in our 12 Mahajans, in Narad Muni, is extremely vital for us to progress in Krishna consciousness. And also to convince other to take to the process, actually. It is extremely vital. So we'll that's the essence of that verse. We'll move on to the next verse, which is text 5, where again in the verse it says, translation, as the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. So here in the purport, Prabhupada gives a beautiful example of the sun, that how the sun is a great example of self-sufficiency. The sun does not require to be illuminated by other sources. It's self-illuminated in that sense. So, sun has the power of, like, it is so merciful that it can take the worst thing like a stool and dry it up completely so that, it doesn't cause an issue for anybody. And at the same time, it can soak the water from the oceans and give it back in the form of the rain. And then sun is the one which makes the beautiful, well, not beautiful, the horrible, or Prabhupada called the hell-like place in winters to a beautiful heaven-like a place in sun, because we don't get much sun here, unfortunately, in England. But Prabhupada called once that, this is like a hell when it comes to winters. But equally in summers, there's so much of sun here. So, and because in the countries where the sun is more, naturally a person's immunity levels are much higher, because the source is, sun gives you vitamin D. It's so many things, the sun, it gives nourishment to the plants and gives, helps the farmers in growth of their, you know, plants and all the other feed which they prepare, actually. So sun plays an important role, but more importantly, in this particular verse, it is said that rather it is the sun which helps all the other illuminating agents. For in the presence of the sun, no other illuminating agent becomes prominent. And Narad Muni here is comparing that sun to be a self-sufficiency of the spider who creates his own field of activities without anyone's help. So Narada Muni is giving an example that how sun is self-luminous, Lord Brahma, you're also like that, So in that context, he's speaking. And then in the last verse, it is spoken that whatever we can understand by nomenclature, characteristics, and features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal, eternal, or temporary, is not created from any source other than that of your lordship. You are so great. So again, in this purport, Prabhupada gives the example of how there are 8,400,000 species of life, and within that there are some superior species, there are inferior species. And within that, then Prabhupada says that, amongst the human beings, there are also different varieties like good, bad, equal. But Narad Muni took for granted that none of them has any source of generation besides his father, which is Brahmaji. Therefore, he wanted to know all about them from Lord Brahma. So here you will also hear other demigods' roles in the various other verses as it comes. Lord Brahma explains how there are different devatas in charge for different, energies of the Lord and helping in providing. Like we know, Vayu gives air. Heat comes from the Agni god. Like that, there are different devatas who are responsible for various other things, but ultimately there is one supreme personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. And one point to note here in this purport where it says, but Narad Muni took for granted that none of them has any source of generation beside his father. So this is where first, in a way, you could see he was posing the question, wanting to ask, but then he decides to take it for granted and say, actually, my dear father, there isn't anybody besides you. You're the one who actually, working through this wonderful creation, and you're the one who's responsible behind it. So this is really what is going on in these three verses. In fact, the fourth verse is quite similar, but I think it'll be covered by the different other devotees, where it's mentioned that yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of some more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities in perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in matter of creation. So Narad Muni is now again starting to give a hint. Well, we wonder, because it's been done so nicely, Dad, is it really you, or you have another dad who's ultimately taking care of the creation actually. So yeah, that's really what the essence was of these verses. I kind of repeated very much what Prabhupada gave in terms of words and shared some stories which I've been hearing from Srila Prabhupada, which are very simple, but they're just so nice to hear again and again. So on that note, I'll stop here and see if any devotees have any comments or any questions, and we can take those, or any reflections. There is
Hare
a
Krishna.
pin. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My Danut Pranam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hope you're okay, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had a bit of a reflection, if I may, and
Yes, please go ahead.
the reason for this reflection is because just somebody just other day asked me this question. So, Prabhuji, you explained it so well. So, thank you so much for that. And Prabhuji, what you said was the faith. Where you and apologies, I joined in the middle because I just came from
That's
work.
okay.
So, Prabhuji, you said a really nice story on the faith. On the elephant within the needle. And I remember my days, Prabhuji, when I was asking every single questions here or there, maybe because I was making sure that what I am doing is the right thing. And there came a point in my life with faith that when some of your friends sometimes ask you, oh, do you still do 16 rounds of chanting? Oh, do you still not eat onion garlic? And you just think, oh my god, this is forever, folks. It's not a thing you do for 10 days and then you go backwards. So it's amazing, Prabhuji, that how you say about faith, because once the faith is there, then by Krishna's mercy, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, there is no going backwards. It's just want to push and go forward. And when you are around people who are not, who are on a different journey, and when they ask you these questions, it makes you think that why would somebody think that I would give up my chanting. So it's
Mm.
brilliant, Prabhuji, how faith is explained and how faith only makes you go forward and ideally not go backwards again.
Yeah, and the main thing to in this particular context of these verses, one can easily look at the questions externally and go, well, Narad Muni is a transcendental personality. He's supposed to know everything, and why is he asking these questions to Brahma? Even to understand that element, you need a faith. And why you need a faith? Because although Narad Muni is a transcendental personality, but right now he's playing a part of a son of Lord Brahma. So he's still being influenced within that energy so that Brahma can actually ultimately establish the real authority here and who's the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, externally you may look at, okay, Narad Muni doesn't seem to have a clue, and on the other hand, we hear he's a self-realized personality roaming around the world spreading Krishna consciousness. Why is he asking stupid questions in one sense? But the point is, he's not asking stupid, he's asking these very valid questions so that in the future, people like us or anybody else for that matter, especially in India, do not start thinking that Brahma is the ultimate one and let me just keep doing the Brahma worship. Or they may just think Lord Shiva is the supreme personality, let me start doing his worship. Or they may think, oh, actually, well, I don't know, somebody else may be the supreme personality of Godhead. So these questions which Arjuna is asking to Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and Narad Muni is asking to Brahma, or Suta Goswami, the sages of Naimisharanya are asking the Suta Goswami, or Parikshit Maharaj is asking Sukadev Goswami. All of these are liberated souls, but there are two main reasons why they ask. One reason they ask is that they bring flavor to the spiritual pastimes of the Lord. It really brings a lot of rasa so that, the pastimes become even more relishable. We hear from the Bhagavatam in the first canto, first chapter, third verse, where it is mentioned that how Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka, it is mentioned only those who are Rasika Vaishnavas, they drink Bhagavatam, they don't hear Bhagavatam, you see. So the Bhagavatam becomes more nectarian when you have pastimes like this. And the second reason why these questions are posed is to establish the supremacy of the Lord. And there is a third reason that they are not so much for Narad Muni to understand. I mean, in that sense, he's liberated. We should look at this angle. Narad Muni is asking for our benefit so that we clearly understand who's the supreme personality of Godhead, and in a way, how wonderful Brahma is. What an example he is of to Vaishnavas of the humility. And then that way we can then progress in our Krishna consciousness. And everything begins at Shraddha. If our Shraddha is weak, then we will think, oh, fasting on Ekadashi, I'd rather do other fasts, but not, which is considered the mother of all the fasts, Ekadashi, I'd rather not do that. If our faith is weak, we will think, oh, I'd rather go to different tirthas, but not to the ones which are being stamped or approved by our acharyas actually. So ultimately, everything is faith, and this faith gradually brings us to the association of the sadhu sangha. And we see in the example of the Narad Muni that how by little Shraddha, having that faith in his mother's instruction that these Vedantists has come to our place for the rainy seasons of the 4 months, immediately with that Shraddha, he started to serve these Vedantists, and within few weeks or few days, he started to eat their remnants, hear the Hari Katha, and within 4 months, if you think of it, he actually almost achieved the perfection because he understood what Hari Katha is. And Bhagavatam in the first canto, second chapter, there is a verse like, what is that verse? I'm forgetting the verse now. I've just been reading first canto again, and there it's mentioned Shrushro Shraddha Dhanasya Vasudeva Katha Ruchi Sayan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Shavana Nishevana. That by serving those who are free from any vice, a great service is performed, and from that we get the attraction to hear the message of Vasudev. So it is extremely important that we stay tuned, have our faith, and carry on developing faith. Faith is, Bhakti Vinod Thakur speaks, there are different levels of faith, but ultimately we have to have the faith, associate with the Vaishnavas, try to serve, do some menial service to the Vaishnavas, and then that way progress in our Krishna consciousness. I think
Very
I
good.
gave a long-winded response to your reflection, Mataji, but
Thank
anyway,
you. Prabhu. That was very helpful. Very good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
So
Mataji.
I have a question, which is
Yes.
not from me. Yesterday I facilitated in a class in Kenya, and then one devotee asked, which I couldn't answer the question. It's
Mhm.
regarding Brahmaji. So the question is, Brahmaji has like a forehead, and then the four Vedas is like it's divided. One Veda was given to him, and then it was divided into four. So the
Mhm.
question is, in other planetary system, there are Brahmas who have like 10, 20, 100,000 heads. So do they have that many Vedas? That was the question.
No, Mataji, as far as our understanding and what Prabhupada has given us, that there isn't so much of relation, direct correlation. There may be somewhere, I don't know about the place, but that to do with the number of head means that many Vedas. No, the reason it is mentioned in the sub creation section when Brahma was created, or he appeared through his penance and through the empowerment of Krishna, that when he first appeared, he did not know actually what is the source of his creation. So in order to identify his source, he looked all around, and as he looked around in that process, he had developed three more heads actually. And I'm sure there are more intricacies behind it, whether if there is some mention about the four Vedas, because ultimately initially there was only one Veda, even though Brahma had four heads, in relation to that. So I have not heard that if Brahma has thousands of heads, there are thousands of Vedas. No, Mataji. Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that, unfortunately, but this is what I can say.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That was my answer also, but yeah, thank you. Thank you.
No
Hare
problem.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else? How's everyone doing? Well,
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Janankari Mataji.
I so often hear about how important it is to have faith and also serve devotees or Vaishnav, and to get to the higher level personalities like the Guru Parampara system. So I'm just wondering, what if you have got a relative and you are really serving them because it's a duty, and they're a disbeliever? How is that taken? How is it useful for our service?
That's a really nice question you've asked. So, Mataji, I would say that if you have someone who is interested in your care, that also has to be taken as Krishna's plan. Because while we are operating in this world, we cannot shy away from our responsibilities. But what we can do is, if we can somehow or other do the duty in such a way that we we become the best examples of, like, because you see, only in certain circumstances one gets the opportunity to develop a certain quality. In a testing circumstance like that, one can develop the quality of tolerance, Mataji, which is very handy in spiritual life. The reason I say tolerance, because especially if that person is not devotee, you have to tolerate the shortcomings of the person, even though while you're trying to help them, serve them in whatever capacity you are, because they may not be practicing spiritual life, or even maybe that cooperative, or whatever it may be, but to just tolerate that and still carry on with your devotional service. And somehow or other, the second element is, while you're trying to serve them, not compromising on your minimum level of sadhana somehow or other, like, taking an advantage of whatever time you have, and not using that as an excuse, like, oh, I'm having to look after somebody full time, or I'm not able to do my sadhana. So we have to show our sincerity to Krishna. Only then the mercy will come. That's why in the pastime of Yashoda binding Krishna and the two fingers falling short, one finger stands for our sincerity or endeavor, and the second one is the mercy of the Lord. So both are equally important. So all I can say is that it is absolutely vital that we do our responsibilities properly, Mataji. And secondly, I would say is that we have to still carry on to the best of our capacity, performing our own sadhana, and wherever possible, taking association of the book Bhagavat or the devotee Bhagavat. Both are equally potent, and both are needed actually for at least for us, as but what can happen due to our circumstances, one can defer more towards book Bhagavata sometimes, or on the other hand, one could defer more towards serving the devotees when the devotees are there and not being able to get a chance to read and things like that. But both are important.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you for a lovely explanation, Prabhu. It's to do with some service I'm doing, and these people have got the person I'm seeing to. He's got heavy dilemma about whether they carry on serving their elderly family member, and so and I'm having to introduce Bhagavad Gita and stuff like that to them. So it is a very good answer. Thank you. It helped me to take it forward. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Okay. Well, it's just so nice to see all of you. All I can say is that I'm very, very inspired and very were enlivened to see the dedication all of you have. Even though the numbers may be small, but you're somehow or other dialing in every day and keeping this transcendental vibration going of Srimad Bhagavatam. We have been a little bit challenged in terms of having facilitators. My own commitments and my services have increased, so I'm not available so much. But we are, we are trying to collaborate more with School of Bhakti to see what can be done. So I'll be working with Rajshri Mataji to connect, to speak to her, to see how best we can carry on, if or if there is a way to collaborate with School of Bhakti. So I'll keep you all posted. It's going to take me another day or so to do that, to try and decide what's the best thing for Chat Plus in the future. So I'll keep you all posted on that. Indulekha Mataji, your hand was up. I was about to close the call, but go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, I would like to add something to the question of Janu Kanya Mataji question. So it's if the person facing that problem, if they believe in karma, they should take it, okay, it's my karma. So if somebody is giving me pain, let me take it. In this way, my karma is diminishing. I'm paying for my karma, and at the same time, I'm carrying out my duty. That also should help.
Yes, Mataji, thank you. That's very useful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and keep the vibration going. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhasya. Kripa sindhubhyo
Vaishnadevo Namaha.
Namaha.
Vaishnavinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.